Yeah, let me see. You're welcome. You're welcome to Resource Blog, the African blogging station. Uh, it's a cause for alarm and what is going on right now in Africa because we know that the war with Russia and between Russia and Ukraine and those supporting them, the role African leaders are playing in this war is very, very important. The reason why I'm saying this because Africa has to play a neutral role in this war. I know that we will not like to do that. There's a reason I'm saying this. I'm saying this because immediately after the war end, maybe in 4 years' time or in 5 years' time, we will see how Europe and Russia will be coming together and Africa will be isolated. Isolated in the form we have never seen before because we go into matters that we didn't really understand because we always know what we were told because the truth of what really the issue of the world is Africa leaders doesn't know rather than also the African citizens know what is going on between these people, the nature of the fight, and why it's so dangerous for Africa to be uh, supporting one side. Uh, and I can also understand Africa in a way, some African leaders, African people, because of what the Europeans have done to Africa, what they have done to Africa uh, since the the stepping in Africa from Europe and their setting up their colonies, what they did to our people, and how they dealt with our people. You see, uh, we cannot be blaming Europe for everything that is really happening to us. We still have our own part that we contributed, and which is very, very unfortunate. Because when I say unfortunate, we have every possibility, we have everything that is really take to build a great nation. Because we know also the difficulties we are facing when when Africa was created, or the continent itself was already there. It was known as another name. And really, the fact is that we Africans, there was no name called Africa. And there was no also name generally know this continent today that is called Africa. There was no name. But there were people living in this continent. Everybody named their part of this continent after themselves. Like we have the Egypt civilization, we have the Nubia civilization, we have so many other civilizations who were running in this area. And the name Africa came with the Europeans to Africa. And the division of Africa came with Europeans. Africa was built on ethnic lines, ethnic lines, language, and all that we were having. We didn't have all these borders of nations we're having today, where brothers and sisters are being separated from each other just because of border, or people of the same ethnic origin are being separated from each other. That wasn't the case. And this is a very, very big challenge for Africans. And people are being meshed together that really doesn't belong together. When we see Sudan, how the war started and everything, you understand. In Nigeria, we're also experiencing the same thing. It's almost every African nation that is experiencing all this. You know, people that have not yet started experiencing uh, this, we start experiencing this because Africa is not, our mentality is not built of, let me say, inferiority like the Europeans who like to forget where they came from. In Africa, it's just very, very different. We have our own ethnic, we have our own language. Although most of these languages today are being influenced by the Western culture and all that, but we still remain Africans. We remain Africans, we remain the black race. Actually, we are not black, to say the fact, and we are not Africans. We are who we are. We are human beings, and these human beings uh, have another color, as to say black. You know why did Europeans and the American and other people name us black? I would like to refer to so many issues, starting from the slave trade. Because the people that was taken away from Africa was immediately named as black people. You know, and when the Europeans were doing anything here that that only fits them, in a way. Just for example, the tires of of a vehicle, everything is black here. Everything is black. Not just why is it black? You know, then you will understand. If you go deeper, you will understand why they paint all this vehicle tires black. And anything that was very very bad in this continent, the Europe continent, was named after black. You see, the devils were painted all blacks. In the schools, children were taught that everything that is black is evil. You know, and people, uh, there was also in the schools they were told, if you are not doing everything appropriate in the night, the black man will come to you and then will come and take you away from the family. So these people, they have some issues with the black people just because of the narrative that has been going on in their schools, in the families, and all that. So my own here coming is just because of what is going on. The hunger that is coming to Africa, if we are not yet getting ready to do things, to put things in place, because this is, I know the situation because of the climate change we have a very very big challenge about that. But there's still enough time. We still have fertile land somewhere in Nigeria, in South Africa. We have some fertile land in Ghana. We have in Liberia. We have in all these West Africa countries. We have fertile lands where we can grow up our grain and all that, wheat and all that rice that can really feed our people. But instead of depending on Ukraine and Russia, you see, the problem I'm having with our leaders when they travel to Ukraine and Russia uh, this week is just because, you see, Russia is at war, Ukraine is at war. They have been fighting for a year and 6 months or 7 months now. They still have the capacity to feed themselves and to export to other countries. Why Africans, some of this land or some of these countries who went to Russia the other day, they are not even at war. They are not at war, but they cannot even feed themselves. Why is this happening? Because the government is not putting this in place. You see, to say we doesn't have the funds to do that, to do this, that is just an excuse because we have everything that it takes. You see, there are people with 40 children in Africa who can be able to take care of their family, through farming, not even doing another, just only through farming. See, but in the modern days Africa, we depends on everything. We depend from Indomie or noodles from China and so many other things, and from Europe also so many other things like the tomatoes, like the so many other things that is really taking Africa down because our people are getting more lazy to do things for themselves. So it's very, very difficult for us to stand up and fight for ourselves. So this is the time Africa need to stand up and start doing things accordingly. Our leaders. You see, I was listening to the president of Rwanda this morning, and I can fully understand because when they went to Russia to meet President Putin, you see, these talks that we were heading there was too cheap for leaders to travel to another country to go and start negotiating. In the real sense, you go there with diplomats first. Our diplomats need to handle things out, and when it comes to an agreement, our president will be going there to sign all these things. But we are seeing a top level from different countries meeting only just one country, which is Russia. And that is a disgrace in part of Africa. To say the fact, that is a very big disgrace and a poorly advised government officials and president. Because how can you go to Russia to disgrace yourself? In the first case, somebody say he will give you food to eat because he doesn't have anything to eat. You know, when we are parading ourselves in our countries, all this president, sometimes I used to laugh. You know, see motorcades of our presidents. You see the bodyguards and those people protecting them. You see, you ask yourself, is this necessary? We have all this. When our people cannot even send their children to school, they cannot feed their children, and the government is not doing anything to support them. So it's very important for us to start standing up, to start supporting our people. Our leaders should go to hell because they don't care. Because once they're in power, they invoke power on themselves until they eliminate those who will stand against them, those who will stand on their way. Just the fact. Those who will stand on their way so that uh, they don't leave power. But today, I'm a little bit scared of what is coming to Africa right now because I've been saying this. There's going to be overthrowing. There's going to be destabilization of so many regions, not just only West Africa because it started in West Africa. We also see this in North Africa, somewhere like Sudan, Northeast Africa. I mean, almost everywhere is being destabilized in Africa. And we are not doing enough to make sure all this ends very soon. Uh, hmm. The only country that can really match up and say enough is enough is Nigeria, because this is the only country that can really uh, come out to say, okay, economically, we can be able to do something. South Africa cannot do anything because the money they have there belong to the white people. The black people are one of the poorest in South Africa if you look at the whole history. And not just only that, if you look at Egypt and all those places like Tunisia and Morocco, uh, Algeria, they are also dependent on all this grain and all that. So Africa need to rise up, wake up, and stand up to work for themselves, to make sure we doesn't turn fully to a beggar. Because once you are a beggar, your independence will be taken away from you. And that is all I have right now. Thank you very much.